for sports talk worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Now, casual boxing fans probably wouldn't have been excited about the boxing match yesterday, right? In the lightweight division. You know, casual fans, let's be honest, boxing fans, we know when we talk to casual fans, they're really only interested in the heavyweights or something that's really, really huge like Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, that kind of stuff, right? But for the rest of us, we're interested in that lightweight division because the lightweight division has the potential, and I'm using potential extra, the potential to be something extremely special. It could be historical if we would just take all of the people out, that are into the politics of boxing and making people avoid people and not having people fight. If we would just do what boxing says, like, hey, here's your ranking, here's your status, you fight the champions, and the champions, when they become champions, then they unify and then we get one champion. If all that were to happen, we would be in for a legendary tournament in boxing, and it would rival one of the most incredible things I've seen in boxing in the last 3 or 4 years, and that would be the WBSS tournament in the cruiserweight division about 2 years ago when your boy Alexander Usyk won that tournament. I am telling you, everybody who was somebody in the cruiserweight division was in that tournament, right? And they all fought each other and found out who the very best was at the end. It was unprecedented. But that's why the WBSS tournament doesn't have any legs. It's because they found out who the best was, and the best were fighting the best without any BS, destroying it, right? Now, if we could have that in the middleweight division, we would. This fight between Ryan Garcia, up and coming lightweight, awesome guy, and he's not famous because of those things I'm oblivious to, all this social media. So he's a social media darling, but he can fight, right? Homeboy, Los Angeles man, the dude is bad. Ryan Garcia and Luke Campbell. Luke Campbell's only lost to elite fighters, Jorge Linares and Lomachenko. And he was in good fights with those guys. So this was a very good fight, and you were hyped about watching it. So you watched the fight, and it was still awesome. You can see, I think round 2, Ryan Garcia is coming out, because he's a good puncher. Everybody's worried about his left hook, and his speed. And Ryan Garcia is coming out. He's young, he got a lot of energy, so he's coming out. Every punch he's throwing is with bad intentions. I'm thinking, be careful now. You mess around, don't get this guy out of here. We're going to see what happens to you in the later rounds. That's what I was thinking the whole time. And he messed around and got dropped by Luke Campbell with a nice left hand. Bam! Knocked him down. But when Ryan Garcia got up, I'm like, look at this dude. I saw unwavering confidence. It wasn't like I didn't get knocked down. It wasn't under, people get knocked down legitimately. They get up and they're a little tentative and trying to get themselves together. It was none of that with Garcia. He got up and continued to control this fight, right? Now, Luke Campbell looked awesome to me, because I was familiar with him and I watched the fights, but I, just didn't hone in on him, say it like that. And in this fight against Ryan Garcia, you were forced to see the talent of Luke Campbell. He was blocking a lot of shots coming at him, countering awesomely. Countering. He was landing some stuff. Now remember, it was a little crowd in there and everything Garcia was doing was being celebrated. Campbell wasn't. You had to pay attention to what Campbell was doing, and he was doing a good job. Kind of reminded me of Canelo. Y'all know I don't roll Canelo. Canelo's one of the problems in boxing, in my opinion, but Canelo's awesome. And I can remember when I thought Canelo lost the first fight to Gennady Golovkin. In my opinion, he lost that fight. There was no doubt about it. But in that fight, you had to celebrate the defense of Canelo Alvarez. In that fight, I won't forget it. It was just awesome. He had Gennady Golovkin missing a lot of times, but Gennady Golovkin was still the aggressor, maybe landed more punches. Not maybe, he did. But he missed a lot. Canelo's defense was on display, and it was awesome. And that's why Luke Campbell, in defeat here, he wasn't bad. So Luke Campbell took him 7 rounds. He was hurt. Ryan Garcia had him hurt in round 5. To the fact we turned around, which it was lucky it was the end of the round, or else he could have been disqualified or considered the loser. But he comes out, fights well in the 6th round, Luke Campbell. But in the 7th, matter of fact, Luke Campbell hit Ryan Garcia with a nice body blow, And it pissed Ryan Garcia off. He come back and come with a left hook to the body, and that was it. He must have hit him in the liver, and your boy Luke Campbell couldn't continue. Now, an awesome fight to watch in the lightweight division. Like I say, lightweight division would be all of that if they would just let these fighters do, what they have to do. Some fighters to go on. I'm just going to show you what I'm talking about here, right? Now, Ryan Garcia wins the fight. He's the mandatory challenger to Devin Haney for the WBC. Now, the WBC orders stuff, right? They will order a mandatory, you gotta have that. Or, like in some cases, they would, basically, they could give Devin Haney the franchise belt, right? Because Devin Haney has a formidable, a formidable mandatory now in Ryan Garcia. They should be ordering that fight, right? Or something. Let's see what the WBC does here. They're supposed to order it, but seeing as though Ryan Garcia is calling out Tank Davis, who don't have a title. He has a regular title, and I think a title at 130, but at 135 he only has a regular title. The other titles are with Teofimo Lopez, has them all except for the WBC. That's what's really up. So, and Ryan Garcia is the mandatory for Devin Haney. So let's see if anybody's talking about that. They won't. After the fight, he's talking about Tank Davis. The crowd's talking about Tank Davis. Like, Tank Davis is cool, right? But this is the mandatory. Normally the mandatory is supposed to be calling out the guy, because then, think about this, then you could beat Devin Haney and have a title. And then you could be all this A-side stuff with Tank Davis, maybe, with a title, which you probably still wouldn't be. But okay. And speaking of which, that's why I wasn't really hyped about the what would happen after the Campbell versus Ryan Garcia fight, because I was thinking the whole time, I was like, well, shoot, the winner of that fight, he's going to be running around here talking about he's the A-side against champions, right? Because if it would have been Luke Campbell too, think about it, Luke Campbell stops Ryan Garcia. He's going back to England with an attitude, and people going to have to go there and beat him and, and be the B-side against him or something. The same thing with Ryan Garcia. They're telling Ryan Garcia after the fight, you can fight whoever you want to. Now, normally I don't see anybody before, but I did watch one of my favorite uploaders, and he was going in about this as well. You telling a guy without a title, he can fight who he want to. You're supposed to be, oh, you're the mandatory challenger for Devin Haney. Now, are you ready to fight Devin Haney to get that belt and then go on and do things after that? No. It's like you can fight whoever you want to and get around to Devin Haney forever. And see, that's what's going on with this mandatory. That's why boxing is not a sport. You're the mandatory, right? You're supposed to want the champion. Right? Unless the champion's awesome, right? Or the champion should want to fight as mandatories, right? But it's just they're all over the place with that. Canelo has a hard mandatory in Charlo. We make the franchise belt. Lomachenko has a hard mandatory in Devin Haney. We'll make a franchise belt. Well, they don't have to fight them. And, hey, make sure it's clear. We'll tell these brothers they cannot get it either. But then when Lomachenko fights Teofimo Lopez 3 or 4 months later, after we just said nobody can get it, right? It's not transferable. We'll let it go from Lomachenko to Teofimo Lopez, right? But they didn't never have to fight the mandatories. Then you got mandatories, right? Like Jaime Munguia, who is the mandatory for who? Demetrius Andrade, right? But they're talking about Jaime Munguia. Hey, you can fight Golovkin. It's the same thing. I would rather fight Golovkin or Tank Davis, if you follow me, guys, than I would Demetrius Andrade or Devin Haney, right? They don't have all that much punching power, but you know what it is? It's embarrassment power. You can mess around and get embarrassed with these guys. And so what the fans will do, not fans, and people in the internet that's got other agendas, they will say it could possibly be boring, right? And I don't know how boring even works, because if your fighter's good, he won't let it be boring. Right? But see, here's where we're going with that. So you got the mandatories who don't even want to fight their champions. And who their champions are, Devin Haney and Demetrius Andrade. Remember that. Jaime Munguia is somewhere else. I'm talking about Golovkin. Your boy's talking about Tank Davis, which Ryan Garcia, Tank Davis not an easy fight or nothing like that. We're not trying to say that. But you're mandatory. Handle that. You can fight and have a title when you fight Tank Davis. We're trying to get, title fights and undisputed. But we get so far away from that in boxing. And let me just hope that Ryan Garcia doesn't have the conversation that he has with somebody, because it seems like Ryan Garcia wants to fight people, right, still. But that's how I thought about Teofimo Lopez as well. In that scenario, they keep forgetting that Lomachenko didn't fight Devin Haney because he didn't want to do that before fighting Teofimo Lopez. That was the deal, actually. You fight Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez fight Comey, and then we get it. So he doesn't do that, right? And then so that means he fights Teofimo Lopez because he thinks that's easier than Devin Haney, and now no one has to fight Devin Haney. And Ryan Garcia is telling everybody straight up, all these other guys, Teofimo Lopez and Gervonta Davis, I want Haney last because Haney is the hardest guy. So think about this: we have all these young, wonderful fighters. Teofimo Lopez, they what, 23? Devin Haney, 22. How old is Ryan Garcia? 20 or something, right? Young, awesome guys. If we would force them, if the boxing community and the boxing people who are in charge, these sanctioned bodies, would say, forget the shenanigans. We have about 6 awesome lightweights, right? Because Shakur Stevenson can move up in there too, if he wanted to, and we can have an awesome tournament and find out who the very best is. Guys, watch the shenanigans and watch that. No one's going to want that. No one's going to be talking about Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia, which is the fight that is supposed to happen, right? And every Teofimo Lopez don't want nobody no more. He's gonna go fight Cambroses, but everyone else he should fight. Who have they fought? They're not worthy, but I'm gonna go fight Cambroses or somebody even worse than that. That's the problem that we're having. So that's the unfortunate thing that's going on in boxing with the Ryan Garcia Luke Campbell fight. But I still enjoyed it. I still like me some Ryan Garcia still. I just hope he doesn't turn into what I think it's inevitable that he will. It's not that he wants to, but at the end of the day, it's, hey, you can make more money, and we'll say you're great. We'll say you're better than these guys, and you will never have to fight them. And then he can give him an example. Look at Canelo Alvarez, who's in your locker room the whole time, who's down with you. Canelo Alvarez is literally never had to fight Demetrius Andrade. We won't do it. Demetrius Andrade has done everything. And then I hear people talking, with Demetrius, he's on the wrong side. He's not positioned himself to do that. What are you talking about? It makes no sense whatsoever. What do you mean? What else can you do? I'm a champion. I worked my way up to be champion at 154. Right? What else is the box supposed to do? As a champion, I call out the other champions vigorously, even call them out of their name, BITCHs, right? Canelo. So that's what I'm supposed to do. Then, that doesn't work either. Then I go to their press conferences and everywhere and harass them, so much so that I'm banned from doing so. If it's Gennady Golovkin or Canelo Alvarez, I am banned. So, as a boxer, what else? I speak English, for crying out loud. I am not doped. And I've been the champion in the same weight division as this guy for 6 years, and everybody's trying to ignore me. They still won't say my name. There's nothing else that the boxer can do. It doesn't matter what side of the street. Demetrius Andrade, if he goes to PBC, he would what? If he goes to PBC, he would have to go fight Charlo, and then they will cancel themselves out, and then one of them got a loss, and the one that got a loss never going to get fought by Gennady Golovkin or Canelo. Stay undefeated, stay away. We ain't canceling no brothers out until we get them first. That's how that should happen. The same thing down at the lower division. Ryan Garcia should be having to fight Devin Haney because he's the mandatory for him. That's why he should be fighting him, Tank Davis, later. Won't happen that way, though, because that would be a perfect world. And that would be sport. But we're not talking about that. Now, are we? Doma Sports Talk, worldwide. And I'm up out of here, y'all.